we've got a situation here where we've got a triangle AB, and at some point we're going to find point C. Okay, we know that length AB is 8 centimeters, and we know that this angle here is 50. Well, we've just talked about this. If we know that the length AC is 7, then what we could do is open up our compass, because we now know how to construct triangles. We could open up our compass to 7 centimeters, stick our point in here, and draw and establish where point C would be. But if we did that, we would actually find that there are 2 different places that it could be. Okay, we could find that point C could be here or here. All right, so our triangle ABC could be this one, or it could be this one. So if we've been asked to find angle C, we've actually got 2 different values here. Yeah? Now, this situation arises because it's the sine rule and the way that this triangle's set up. The connection between the 2 angles, and this is all you need to know, is that this angle here, so if we had this angle and this angle, these ones add up to 180. Okay, so if we were able to establish what this angle here was, and we're asked to find an alternate answer, we would just do 180 minus that, and we would find the other value. Okay, so that's all you need to know, that these 2 angles, the 2 options, add up to 180. So here we've got triangle ABC. AB is 8, AC is 7. Here's our angle. Use the sine rule to find angle C. So we're going to find angle C. So it was a few days ago that we did this now. So how we want to find angle C. So what would we write?
Yeah. What we do? 50, no. Sine 50 divided by 7.
Now, my suggestion to you is always start with the thing you're trying to find. So my suggestion would be to write sine C first.
Oh, well then I got this all wrong.
Okay, so if we're trying to find an angle, remember angles can go on top. So it's either all sides on top and all angles on bottom, or the other way up. So we're trying to find an angle, so I would have sine C on the top. What would go underneath sine C?
8.
8. And that would be equal to, careful Olivia, sine 50, good, over 7. Yep. So we would have sine C equals sine 50 over 7. I'm trying to get rid of this, so we would multiply both sides by 8. So we've got this value here. We're trying to find the actual angle, so remember we need to use inverse sine because we need to find C itself, not sine C. So sine to the minus 1 of that answer. Yep. Okay, so C is, does anyone have an answer? Let me pull. Okay, so we have an answer of 61.1. However, we've just established, because it's this angle here, that there is another option. So you would say alternatively, oh my gosh, that's a really long word. I should have used the word or. Alternatively, 180 minus 61.1. Okay, so normally a question will say which 2 answers and which options, or it might say which obtuse angle. So if you had come up with 61.1 and they said what is the obtuse angle, you should look at that and say, oh, hang on a minute, that's not an obtuse angle, that cannot be right. So you would then calculate 180 minus 61.1 and get 118.9.
Yeah.
And say, oh, look, that's an obtuse angle, that must be the one they're looking for.
But they won't just so if we just get this, And we don't put both. Will be
No, you shouldn't do. They should make it clear that they want both answers. Okay?
Wait, so what?
So you just do 180 minus 61.1.
That's angle A?
No, that's angle C.
They're asking for
So
angle
because
C.
we've just discussed that there can be two answers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Oh, you mean other side. Okay, gotcha.
Okay? You're thinking about this plus this and then finding that. So that's different. That's a different situation. For C, there can be two options. So it would be 61.1 or 118.9. Pardon? Because we just discussed it up here.
Oh, gotcha.
Because there could be two different places. Yeah? All right?
Okay, so I think you should have called it after.
Okay, so now we come on to the cosine rule. Let me just quickly revert back to the sine rule. If we remember, the sine rule had A over sine A, B equals sine B, C over sine C. So our sine rule involved two angles and two sides. Are you happy with that?
Oh, yes.
So the questions for when we use the sine rule, the question involved. Now listen, I'm not saying you get given, but it involves two sides and two angles. Okay? So of those four things, you're asked to find one of them. But it involves two sides, two angles. And that's always going to be the case if you're using the sine rule. For the cosine rule, it's slightly different. Okay? And the cosine rule is going to be involving three sides and just one angle. Okay? So the cosine rule involves, again, I'm stressing the fact that it involves three sides, one angle. You're not given three sides, one angle. Okay? You will be asked to find one of these things. The cosine rule, I'm pretty sure you only get given one format of it. Okay? You are told that a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So the fact that you get given it means you don't need to learn it. Okay, so you get given this format.
We get given
Can you read it out?
You get given signs.
Can you read it?
So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a.
Is that equals?
Alright, so just to clarify, so the b squared and c squared should be okay. This 2bc cos a, it means that these four things are all multiplied together. So you've got 2, you've got b, whatever side length b was, multiplied by c, multiplied by the cosine of angle A. Now, you know that I don't like to stress about labeling things A, B, C. So what I want you to try and appreciate is the connection that we've got here. If this is the angle that we've been given, so if we're trying to find a side length, we need to know this angle. Well, what connection is there between this side length and this angle?
Well, once
They are across from each other. Okay? So if we're trying to find a side length and we know the other two side lengths, we need to know the angle opposite the one we're trying to find. Okay? So rather than stress about labeling things A, B, C, just recognize that if you're trying to find a side length, we need to know the angle opposite it. This B and C, doesn't matter which one's which. Okay? So the B squared plus C squared, they're being added and squared and added, so that doesn't matter which order we do that. They're being multiplied together here. Again, it doesn't matter which order we do that. Okay? So as long as you remember and focus on the fact that you've got, if you're trying to find a side length, you've got the angle opposite it, we'll be fine.